Hello juniors, this is your advanced video lesson for Science 9 first quarter. We are still under the learning competency number 1 for this quarter, actually for this year too. It is as follows. Explain how the respiratory and circulatory systems work together to transport nutrients, gases and other molecules to and from the different parts of the body. That means that by the end of this, by the achievement of this learning competency, it means that you are capable of doing just that. Again, this is our goal. This is your objective. This is the competency that you must be able to achieve. So you need to be able to explain. You will be needing your learners module, Unit 1, Module 1, pages 7 to 10. If you have a hard copy of this, you may use that, but if you don't have one, you may message me through my Facebook page. You know the link to it. I'll be giving you a soft copy. So let's begin. So for this video, we are going to have the following activities, I mean sessions. Not really. For this session, it's going to be divided into 3 parts. Okay, so first is activity number 2, bottled balloons, discussion for the respiration process, and then an activity 3, just go with the flow. If you are a teacher anyway who is watching this, you may message me through my page as well. You will be finding the link sa my description. So let's begin. For the first part, activity number 2, we'll be having this activity entitled Bottled Balloons. The objectives of this activity is for you to be able to explain how the lungs work. Well, you may know what the lungs are, kung ano ibig natin sabihin by lungs, pero how about we now discuss how are they working? How do they work when it comes to the process of respiration? Ano yung nangyayari sa kanila or ano yung ginagawa nila? Also, describe how the movement of the diaphragm helps the air go in and out of the lungs. The diaphragm is it is a muscle, and then how does it affect or how does it contribute to the process of respiration? So we are going to achieve these 2 objectives by doing this activity, or perhaps we are going to have activities that will lead us to the achievement of these objectives. Ayan. So if you have time and also if you have these resources, you may look for a 2-liter empty plastic bottle. Pwede rin naman yung 1.5. Basta ang point dyan is malaking plastic bottle. Soda bottle, yung pinaglagyan ng Mountain Dew, Coca-Cola, yung mga yun. So you may get one of that. Also balloons. By saying balloons, well, you know pretty much what this activity is. So if you want to know what size of balloon you're looking for, you may just parang identify the specifications for that through the next part of the activity. Anyway, I'm going to show you a finished setup. And then 1 sturdy straw. The fault that is usually being committed by a lot of people doing this activity is that they are using straws na napakalambot. So you have to use a sturdy one, yung medyo matigas na straw. And then 5 rubber bands. You may have more than 5 kasi baka masira nyo yung 5. And then 1 pair of scissors. So you are just going to refer to the procedures found on your learner's material. Again, if you don't have a copy, I'll be providing a soft copy. Pero this is basically what you are aiming for. So these are sturdy straws. These are 2 small balloons, and that is a big balloon. And then ito yung sa may bandang upper portion ng plastic bottle ninyo. It has a cap on it, and then you have to refer to the procedure paano nyo gagawin ito. I-connect yung mga straw doon, tapos that has a hole. Okay, may butas yan sa taas. Now, what I want you to do is to observe this setup. So, obviously, one hand is holding sa may neck, okay, near the tip, And then another one is holding right there sa isang balloon, the larger one, and it's pulling and pushing upwards. Now observe what is happening inside. I know they look funny, pero focus on our objective. Observe. Okay. Now, I need you to get your study notebook and answer the following questions. Label that page, activity number 2, bottled balloons. Question number 4. Anyway, why is it question number 4? Because we are just continuing the series of questions from the first activity, from activity number 1. So we are now on activity number 2, and we're continuing to question number 4. So what does each part of the constructed lung model represent? So this constructed lung model, ano yung nire-represent ng bawat parts niyan? Itong balloon na to, itong mga balloons na to, these straws, and pwede yung butas sa taas. Ano yung nire-represent ng mga yan? Kasi binutasan niya sa taas. So what does that represent? What do they represent? Now, question number 5. What happens as you pull down the balloon at the bottom of the model? So, the balloon at the bottom of the model is this balloon right here. Okay, now, what happens when you pull it down? What is happening? Or, of course, what happens kapag itong si Kuya right here is pulling the balloon down? I am assuming he's a Kuya. Question number 6, what happens as you push up the balloon? So, hindi naman niya nire-release, tama ba? Hindi naman niya basta lang binibitawan yung balloon. Pinupush niya talaga pataas kasi hawak na pa rin niya. Oh. Yan, pinupush niya pataas. So, what is happening kapag pinupush niya pataas yung balloon na to? Question number 7, how does the movement of the diaphragm cause the air to go in and out of the lungs? Okay, so question number 7 is basically assuming now that you already understand what this what this balloon is representing and what these balloons are representing. So basically the question is, how does the movement of this balloon affect these balloons, 2 balloons inside? How are they affected by the movement of this larger balloon? Okay, question number 8. What will happen if you prick the balloon? Say for instance, if you prick, what will happen if you prick these 2 balloons? Okay, so hindi lang isa, yung dalawa. What will happen if you prick these 2 balloons? You don't prick this, ito lang. What will happen? That's case number 1. And then case number 2 is, what will happen if you prick this balloon? And not these 2. Not these 2, but this. What will happen kapag binutasan mo to? Case number 2. So yeah, wrap up your study notebook, because we're now going to proceed with the second part of this session, a discussion. This discussion is entitled The Respiration Process, and this is a GIF. I hope that you have seen it moving. Sige, just observe it first. The lung model, I can't really call it a lung model. The balloons a while ago, the model that we used a while ago, it may look like this. Okay, so ang nangyari dito is may red right here. So we can assume this is the diaphragm, and then these 2 are the lungs. Now, tumataas siya, and then lumilit yung lungs. It's pushing downwards, and then lumalaki yung lungs, and then the ribs are also moving along with that, right? So basically this is much of the respiration process. It may be a really simple process, pero it is very important for us humans to know how does it work. Okay, so by saying, okay, why is it important for you to know how it works? Of course, it is your body, and so science in this discussion, science is just informing you how is it working, because perhaps that piece of knowledge may be useful for you because this is a vital process. So when you inhale, the diaphragm muscle contracts. The diaphragm muscle is this red one, and then it contracts. Ibig sabihin nun is tawag dun, it becomes active. It is flexing. Okay, siguro that is more familiar with you. A muscle that is flexing, merong force na exert. And in this case, the diaphragm, when you exert force to it, it moves downwards. Okay, so it contracts. When you contract your muscle, your diaphragm muscle, it moves downwards. Okay, because of that movement, the chest cavity, this entire part of your body, chest area, the chest area is expanding. Lumalaki. Now, it is expanding because the ribs are moving up. Okay, and then it creates less air pressure inside the lungs. So when you inhale you are taking in, of course, air. So what happens now is when you fill these two bags, these lungs with air, the pressure inside becomes lower. Again, the pressure inside becomes lower. Now, the air now is being pushed from the outside, okay, from the outside environment where there is higher air pressure into the lungs where there is lower air pressure. That is what happens when you inhale. So, nag-expand yung chest cavity mo, because your ribs are moving up, yung lungs mo are being filled with air, and then because they are filled with air, the air pressure inside becomes lower compared to the air pressure outside. Okay, so comparative yun. Now, okay, if you know me, wala singot talaga. Okay, when you exhale, the diaphragm muscle relaxes. So this is inhale, and then when you exhale, it relaxes. So ayun, we can conclude that when we say contraction for the diaphragm, ang nangyayari sa kanya is bumababa siya, and when it is relaxing, tumataas naman siya. So what happens when it relaxes is that the lungs are becoming smaller, thus the chest cavity is also getting smaller. They are actually not getting smaller, they are returning to their original form. The ribs, it returns to its original form. Thus the chest cavity returns to its original size. Now, there's less space inside the lungs, and because of the pushing of the air from the inside the lungs towards the external environment, there comes now greater air pressure inside the lungs. So kanina kapag nag-inhale ka, lower na ang air pressure dito sa loob compared sa labas. Ngayon nag-exhale ka na, greater na yung air pressure sa loob compared sa labas. So that's what happens when you exhale. Now, quick question. Why is oxygen a requirement for the proliferation of life on Earth? Well, oxygen, it is an element. You have known, actually since siguro elementary kayo, that it is coming from plants and that you are producing carbon dioxide, right? In exchange for that. Why is it a requirement for the proliferation of life on Earth? Okay, so I can expect a variety of answers from you, pero how about you write this down on your study notebook? I need you to pause this video and then reflect on this question. Ano nga ba? Okay, now that you have, syempre, when you inhale, you get oxygen and all other kinds of gases from the air that you just breathed in. Now, what are you going to use that for? Ano ba yung mga uses ng oxygen sa sistema ninyo? So, you may conduct a quick research, actually, and then just write the answer to this question in your study notebook. You may pause this video. by now I assume that you are already done answering this question. Let us now proceed with the actual third part of this session. Activity number 3, it's entitled Go with the Flow. So yung question kanina, it will lead you to, I am hoping that it led you to the concept relating oxygen with the blood. Okay, so you are getting oxygen from your environment primarily through respiration, and that concerns the respiratory system. But when it comes to using it, ang pinaka-concerned dyan is the circulatory system. Perhaps you were able to include in your answer some things like, say, your cells all over the body, they need oxygen for them to properly function, and in return they are going to produce carbon dioxide, which is going to be transported back to the lungs for it to be thrown out or released into the environment. Pero how does that happen? The blood is liquid, the air that you are inhaling is gaseous, right? So how does that happen? So let us do this activity, and hopefully this activity will help us in understanding or in knowing the answer to that question. So the first objective of this activity is we need to describe. Now you need to be able to describe blood flow and gas exchange within the heart, circulatory system, and the lungs. So kailangan alam nyo nang i-describe after ng activity na to kung paano nangyayari yung gas exchange within the heart. Well, in the previous video, meron na kayong idea that the actual gas exchange happens in the alveoli, and that merong role na pinaplay ang mga capillaries, yung arteries, and even yung veins in that process. Pero in here, we are going to talk about the circulatory process. The circulation. Okay, so next one is explain the mechanism of how respiratory and circulatory systems work together. Well, you may need the following materials, and you may need to follow the procedure that is described step by step in your learner's module. Pero I already have the model here. So if you are much like a visual learner, you may proceed. Pero I'm giving you now the time to read the procedure, get these materials, and then do it. You may pause this video if you may pause this video if you want to. So go ahead. So now, if you have if you are back, I am assuming you have already done the activity, or you are a visual learner and have decided that, it's better if I just see it. Okay, so let's now proceed. This activity will be using the following model. So if you did the activity, meron kayong mga paper strips na naka-name is lungs, naka-name yung left heart, right heart, and then may arteries, mayroong capillaries, and then may veins, and then these are the arrows that you used in that activity. So ayan yung pinaka-flow niya. So if you're gonna ask me if this is a circle, a perfect circle, it looks like it moves clockwise from 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. So that is clockwise. So what I want to do as usual is to observe the following illustration. So the lungs is cute. It doesn't look anything like the lungs. And then itong dalawang to, this is the right heart, the left portion of the heart, and the right portion of the heart, and the left portion of the heart. Well, wala tayong dalawang hearts, okay? So portions ang pinag-uusapan dito. Okay, philosophy. Okay, so you only have one heart, and then right heart means the right portion of the heart. Left heart naman means the left portion of the heart. Then you have here arteries. Iba yung kulay nila sa veins. So it seems like mas gray to kesa dun sa grayness nito. The capillaries. Okay, so arteries ito, tapos meron siyang capillaries dito, tapos veins. So parang connected sila, no? Question number 9. On your study notebook, write your answers to this question. Label that part as activity number 3. Just go with the flow. Question number 9. How do the heart and the lungs work together? Yeah, this requires your confidence when it comes to answering, because pretty much this illustration is not going you that the direct answer to that. You need to analyze this model first before you would be able to answer this question. Paano nag-work yung heart and the lungs? So you have the right heart, and then it will, okay, the arrow goes to the lungs and then to the left heart. Okay, I gave you so much clues already. Let's proceed. Okay, so question number 10. What takes place when you inhale and exhale? What takes place means what happens when you inhale or exhale. So, ano ibig sabihin ng what happens? What happens to what? What happens to the system? What are the processes that happen when you inhale and when you exhale? Question number 11, what does blood deliver to every part of the body? So with this, the answer to this question is pretty obvious. Ano yung dinedeliver ng blood based from this, based from this illustration? If it's the lungs, it's part of the respiratory system. It's part of the respiratory system. Ano pa kaya yung tinatanong dito, right? Question number 12. You may use your answers from the previous question in the previous part of this session in answering this question. Why is oxygen important to your body? So yeah, you may use your the research that you were able to do in answering this question. And then, how will you describe the sequence of oxygen, carbon dioxide, and blood flow in your own words? So sequence, how will you describe the the connection na lang, the connection of carbon dioxide, oxygen, and blood flow in your own words according to this system? So looking at this system, ano yung isang banda makikita yung oxygen, isang banda makikita yung blood flow, at isang banda naman makikita yung carbon dioxide. So basically, using this illustration, how will you describe the presence and the roles, okay, of these three? Okay, so that's it for the last part. So grade 9. This biological science series is still ongoing, so you can expect me to continue our lesson in the next video, through the next video. And I hope that you see the continuity, because I am going to upload these in a playlist that are chronological. Magkakasunod na sila. So, wag niyo na i-confuse yung mga sarili ninyo. Kung ano yung pagkakasunod-sunod nila dun sa playlist, ganun din sila dapat talaga ma-play. So, yeah, you may just follow that sequence. And speaking of sequence, the following are the sequence of activities that we did for this video. We have activity number 2, bottled balloons. So, remember the balloons, remember the contraction, and the relaxation. So, the second one is a discussion about the respiration process. Take note that for the for the respiration process, for the discussion that we did, we described inhalation, exhalation, we described air pressure, we described the ribs, the rib cage, okay, the chest cavity. We also described the size of the lungs. I hope that when you're asked next time to describe the respiration process, you are going to keep those factors in mind. And the last part is just go with the flow. We used an illustration, and then some of you, I hope, well, perhaps they even did the actual activity. So yeah. So I hope that you remember that we are still working on the first learning competency, and in your learners module you are supposed to use pages numbers 7 to 10. Pero if they are not the same page numbers, then you may just refer to the titles of the parts that we discussed. Okay. The Knowledge Catalog, this series is part of the Knowledge Catalogs series. This is a brand being developed by yours truly, and I am a high school science teacher in the Philippines, and I love developing content that I find useful and needed to better my instruction, such as these advanced lessons. If you want to have a copy of this presentation, and if you are also a public school science teacher, you may contact me through my page. It's on facebook.com/knowledgecatalog/.